The restaurant was the kind of place where crystal glasses chimed softly, where gold-toned lights reflected off polished wood, and where money sat quietly at every table without needing to announce itself. Ethan Blackwood had eaten in places like this all over the world, but tonight his appetite was gone. He sat alone, dressed in a tailored suit, staring at a plate he barely touched, lost in thoughts of meetings, profits, and a life that looked perfect from the outside yet felt strangely hollow. As he reached for his glass of water, his eyes drifted across the room, and that's when he noticed her. A little girl, no more than 8 years old, stood near a table that had just been vacated by wealthy guests. She wore a simple red dress with a green apron tied around her waist, far too big for her small frame. Quietly, carefully, she opened the leftover food boxes left behind, gathering what remained with the seriousness of someone performing an important duty. There was no mischief in her movements, no playfulness, only focus. Ethan frowned. This wasn't a cheap diner, this was one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. Children like her didn't belong here, at least not like this. Curiosity tugged at him stronger than any business instinct ever had. He watched as she slipped a small piece of bread into a container, then paused, glancing around nervously before adding a bit of chicken. She didn't eat yet, she was collecting. Something about that unsettled him deeply. When a waiter passed without noticing her, Ethan stood up almost without thinking and walked over. "Hey," he said gently, not wanting to scare her. The girl flinched slightly, then looked up at him with wide, cautious eyes. Up close, he could see faint shadows beneath them, the kind no child should have. "What are you doing?" he asked, keeping his voice calm. For a moment she said nothing, as if weighing whether telling the truth was safe. Then she answered in a quiet voice that carried more weight than he expected. "I'm taking what they don't want." Ethan glanced at the half-empty tables around them. "Why?" he asked. She hugged the box closer to her chest and said words that struck him harder than any boardroom confrontation ever had, "Because at home, leftovers mean we get to eat tomorrow." The noise of the restaurant seemed to fade. Ethan felt something crack open inside him. "Your parents?" he asked. "My mom," she replied. "She works here. She cleans after everyone leaves. She says food thrown away still has love in it if someone eats it." Ethan swallowed. He'd built an empire on numbers, but this moment had nothing to do with profit and everything to do with humanity. "Does the manager know you're doing this?" he asked. She shook her head quickly. "No. I'm not stealing. I only take what's already paid for and going to the trash. I make sure no one needs it." Her small shoulders straightened, as if she'd practiced defending herself before. Ethan felt ashamed of the untouched food on his table, of the waste he'd never thought twice about. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lily," she said. "Sir, am I in trouble?" Her question cut him deeply. "No," he said softly. "You're not in trouble at all." He looked at the box in her hands. "Is this for you?" She hesitated. "For me and my mom. Sometimes my little brother too. He's sick, so he eats less." Ethan closed his eyes for a brief second. In that moment, the world he knew, the stock markets, the luxury, the endless pursuit of more, felt painfully small. He pulled out a chair and sat down to her level. "Lily," he said, "would you sit with me for a moment?" She looked unsure, but nodded. He waved a waiter over and, without raising his voice, ordered a full meal, warm, fresh, enough for a family. When the food arrived, Lily stared at it as if it might disappear. "This is too much," she whispered. Ethan smiled sadly. "For me, it's nothing. For you, it's dinner." Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't cry. Instead, she said something that stayed with him forever, "When I grow up, I want to be rich like you. Not to have things. To make sure no one has to look in trash for food." Ethan felt his throat tighten. That night, he didn't just pay for a meal. He spoke to the manager, quietly but firmly. He learned about Lily's mother, her long hours, her unpaid overtime, her sick son. And he did something he'd never done before, he listened. By the end of the week, Lily's mother had a better job, fair pay, and benefits. By the end of the month, Ethan had started a program across all his restaurants to donate untouched food legally and safely to families in need. And every year after that, he returned to that same restaurant on the same night, not as a millionaire chasing success, but as a man reminded of what success truly meant. All because a little girl gathering leftovers had the courage to speak words that stunned him into becoming better. If this story touched your heart, remember, stories like this remind us that kindness can change lives. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories that open our eyes, warm our hearts, and remind us what truly matters.